that's it. My name's Oisín McConville, former Armagh GA player. This is the third one of these that I've hosted, and I think the fact that we have Paddy here tonight could be my most challenging. First, I'm going to introduce Paddy Barnes, two-time Olympic medalist, turned professional in 2016, 9 fights, 6 wins, 3 losses. Paddy Sport and I ambassador and a well-known figure for everybody. Megan Frazer, we also have Megan Frazer. I'm delighted to have Megan. Current Irish hockey international and former captain. Megan played in 2018 World Cup, winning a silver medal. And she actually missed the final through injury. We're going to maybe chat to her a little bit about that. Part of women in sport, and I suppose the focus has never been greater as far as women in sport is concerned. But we're looking forward to having a good chat. I really look forward to Thoughtful Thursdays for a couple of reasons. One of those reasons today was myself and the wife had a 20-minute conversation about the quality of black bin bags, and I was glad that I was able to get away from that. And I suppose the other thing is that it is bedtime in our house as well, and she's 3 kids down there trying to get them all sorted. So it's all good. Megan, if I can, I'm going to start with you. A lot of people might not know this, but you played football early on.
I did, yes.
Whew, thank God I got that right.
What type of football, though?
Yeah, well, soccer, I presume.
Yes, you got that one.
What age were you when you forced to choose between the sports, or was it always going to be hockey? Was it not much of a choice in the end?
No, I grew up playing football, so I think that was always my first sport love. And then just growing up, I only started hockey in first year in school because my school didn't play any other sports for girls. So I was kind of forced into it. And to tell you the truth, I was not a fan to begin with. If it hadn't been for my mum telling me to, go back and give it another go and see how it is, I wonder where I would be today, to be honest with you. But so around the age 15, 16, it was coming to a stage where I was on a Northern Ireland development team for football and Ulster hockey. I was doing a morning session of football at Queen's and then going up the stairs to do an Ulster session in the afternoon. So eventually I was kind of forced into choosing one or the other. Probably more for my mum's sake than anyone else sitting up in Belfast waiting on me all day. But yeah, so I went for hockey, but I still love to kick a ball around, not so much watching it, but yeah.
So why hockey at that time? Was it to do with the structures or?
To be honest, I actually just found hockey a lot more challenging. My first Ulster trial, I didn't get through, and football seemed to be quite simple for me just because I'd played for so long. I only played for a club in football when I was age 15 and then got selected for the Northern Ireland team almost straight away. And I kind of, not at the time, but looking back, I actually did love the fact that I didn't get selected for Ulster, and it just gave me more of a motivation and kind of made me work harder. And then so it didn't happen again. And yeah, I think that's one of the first time anyway I was ever dropped for anything, and it just gave me such a motivation for it never happening again.
So at 19 then you head off to America, Maryland. Yeah
with an American accent now. That's Maryland. Yeah, they wouldn't know where you were talking about now if you went over there and started asking about Maryland.
Well, they probably need subtitles for me anyhow, Megan. But so what was the real difference when you headed over there, like as far as training, culture, professionalism? Was it much different than anything you'd experienced before?
Yeah, to be honest, it was completely different. And I think probably the biggest thing that struck me straight away was that through school, I'd always played sport after school. Like, you go all day in classes and then you train in the evenings. And whenever I got to America, it was just flipped on its head. Like, I was playing hockey as my main thing there. So I was given times and I wasn't allowed to choose classes around if they messed up with the hockey training schedule, which was a bit bizarre because it actually affected which major you could choose. So effectively, my degree was picked around classes that suited my hockey schedule. And at the time, for me, it was absolutely fine because I was there to play hockey, and to be honest, didn't put much effort into the degree because I was just so focused on hockey, and you don't have a very future thinking career thoughts, at that age, whenever you're, living the life over in America and having a bit of fun and just playing hockey and growing that way. But I suppose the other thing was how big sport was there. And I know you see it all the time in American films and stuff where, all the families are coming out and supporting the football and the tailgates. And I mean, that was the same, obviously, on a smaller scale because field hockey over there wasn't the biggest of sports. But for the, close people to it, we had the same. We were spoiled. We got everything kind of given to us. We had our own pitch, our own locker rooms. You had your own locker for the 4 years you were there. So it was very much a professional setup. You couldn't have asked for anything else. And the level of the coaching was quite good. There was always, we had a Dutch coach while we were there who are considered the best in the world at hockey. So they were always kind of looking for that little just advantage anywhere they could. So yeah, I really couldn't fault them for that.
What was the biggest difference you found? Was it S&C, or was it the skills end of things, or what was it?
The hard work, the toughness of it. Like, now we think, oh, maybe it was the time as well, but load is a big focus for us now, and balancing it and getting it right. But like, whenever I think of pre-season over there, my coach, so basically the NCAA doesn't allow you to begin your pre-season until a certain date, and literally midnight, as it became, just say it was the 12th, midnight at 11 p.m. or 11 a.m, whatever, the middle of the night anyway, of the next day. That's the time that we did our like first fitness test as coming into that, I just thought it was like, here we are in the middle of the night on a track doing a fitness test. Like, how do you even eat for something in the middle of the night? Like, it was just crazy. And from there on, it didn't stop. Like, there was no lay-in the morning because we'd been up until 2 o'clock and didn't sleep because we were, so hyped up from this fitness test that they put a lot of pressure on. And, it was twice a day training sessions for 2 weeks flat, then straight into games, maybe 2 or 3 times a week. So definitely the biggest challenge was the intensity of everything there, because the length of the season was from September to November, but you're playing the same amount of games as you would in a season here, like with 1 game each weekend. So definitely the intensity and that kind of mental toughness you need to just get on with it. There was no one ever pulled out of training unless you had like a little injury, or not showing up wasn't ever an option. And I think that kind of solidified itself into my head that no matter what's going on, that this is your commitment, and you go and do it.
I think that stand here through your career since?
Absolutely, 100%. Whenever it's so kind of ingrained to you, you don't even need to almost like focus on your own discipline, because it's just already there because you did it for so long, like in quite a structured place. And like everything I learned from that, just in terms of time management, because everything was so intense, You know, you had to be on top of everything. You had to get on with everyone because you were with them constantly. Like looking back, it was tough, but you just did it. And I always said that, you know, the first 2 weeks that I went there, I was miserable. Like I was just looking up when I could come home the quickest, because, you know, I was 18 whenever I left to go over there, where I didn't know a single person. You know, none of my family was there. I'd never lived away from home. You know, I went over there. I didn't even have like sheets for my bed or anything, because obviously my suitcase was full of clothes. So, you know, it was a lot. And I've always said, you know, if I can get through that, I can get through anything, because it was so tough. And definitely, I mean, the first 2 weeks to a month, I couldn't even, it was just around the time Skype was becoming available, and I couldn't even Skype with my family because we were just bawling, crying every time we would see each other. And I remember my some of the people that work with my mum couldn't even ask about me, because she would just cry constantly, and they laugh now that it was like there was a death in the family whenever I left, and they're still kind of afraid to mention it. But yeah, so that was tough, but it was every bit as good as I expected in the end.
Thanks, Megan. Going to move on to Paddy. Paddy, I've always wanted to ask you this question, but I've always wanted to make sure it was far enough away that reach couldn't get at me. For some people, they see Paddy Barnes as a figure of fun, and they see how jovial you are, and that's your sort of character, that's your sort of nature. I play with a guy. A lot of people on here won't know who he is, but a guy called Benny Tierney. He did goals for us for Armagh for 10 or 12 years, whatever it was. He wore fluorescent pink and yellow jerseys in Gaelic football, which had never been seen before. He was a flamboyant sort of character. I don't know if you've ever met him, but I always felt he was an absolutely top-class goalkeeper, but he didn't take himself too seriously. And I always think, since people think, well, Benny was just there for the crack, but without Benny, we wouldn't have won what we won, but he's still seen as a figure of fun. What's your feelings on that, as far as how you're viewed, how Paddy Barnes is viewed?
Well, I think I understand where you're coming from, because, you know, being a part of the Irish high performance, you're competing for your country at the highest level, and you would expect everything to be extremely serious, and it is. But you can't go about training and competing and everything being, you know, head on, and like everything being so serious, because that's not how your mind works. So you need characters on certain teams, even though boxing is a individual sport, but collectively you're training as a team. So you need characters to make a bit of fun in training. You know, train hard, be dedicated, but you do need to have fun. Fun is a serious part of sport, and I think, like myself, I was able to like have a joke with my teammates, and you know, I think my teammates seen how successful I was, and if I was able to have fun, you know, it would relax them too, and they could, you know, maybe engage and having fun as well. And he had the likes of Michael Conlon, who would also have fun as well, the same as himself, and you can look how successful he was among other athletes. So I think, you know, as you're saying, Tierney there, people like him in sport are much needed. I think it's essential to have people like him, because, as I say, having fun, in high level sport is very important, because for your own mental well-being and everything else, you know, it can't be like too stressful, because you really need to enjoy a sport, because sport only lasts for a certain number of years. So you need to be able to enjoy the journey.
Yeah, and can you tell us a little bit about that journey about Paddy Barnes growing up as like representing your country, going to the Olympics? Was that always in your thoughts, or is that something that developed through time?
Well, really, when I was younger, the Olympics, like obviously for every athlete's dream is the Olympic Games. It's the biggest sport event in the world. But I remember from my earliest boxing memory that I always just wanted to go to the World Championships to see how I would compete against the rest of the world. I didn't even really know what the Olympics were. I actually remember when I qualified for Beijing, or sorry, before I qualified for Beijing, there was a game on the Nintendo 64 called Mario in the Olympics. And I remember thinking, oh, geez, I could be going there next year. And I qualified, and it was only me qualified on the team. And I remember telling Billy Wells, I'm not going to the big games by myself for you and Gary Keegan. I bring legumes. Like, I'm not going unless someone else qualifies. And I remember Amir Khan qualifying the previous Olympic Games, and he was able to bring his friends. Like, no matter, so I'll just go to the Olympics because I'm sure if Amir can bring his friends, so why can't I bring my mates? No, I didn't care about the Olympics. But then once I got to Beijing, experienced what the Olympics were about their values and how it affected the country, I became like somewhat addicted to like representing my country at the biggest stage in the world. And every Olympic cycle, I trained extremely hard and dedicated my life to that cycle to try and qualify for the next games.
And picking up a bronze medal, was that success for Paddy Barnes at that time?
Yeah, definitely. As I say, my first Olympics in Beijing, it was very young and raw, and I remember winning the bronze and losing because it was so young. I didn't really care. I didn't really know much about the Olympics, and that's why I had an outburst saying like, keep the bronze medal. I don't care because I felt mistreated, where the score was concerned. But it was after we went to like meet the Irish contingent in Beijing. When they were talking to me about how much it meant for them and for me winning the medal, it really sunk in. And when I come home, and the Irish public, really open top buses around Belfast and Dublin, and once I seen how much it meant to the Irish people back home, I craved that success even more. And in London, I'd done the same again, and I got the same treatment again. So, it just, I thought that it was just amazing.
And Paddy, you know Kenny Egan well, and both of us know him well, and you spoke to him on numerous occasions. I'm sorry, you've heard him speak. What was it like coming home from the Olympic Games, and maybe not necessarily the couple of weeks afterwards, because there's a lot of adulation and that floating about. What's the time after that, like the months and the period after that, when maybe the focus lifts or it's taken away from you?
Yeah, so once you come onto the Olympics, like I can only speak from being successful, so I don't know what it'd be like what I'll do in Rio, but from like the likes of Beijing and London, like, once you come home, especially from Beijing, from being no one in sport to winning an Olympic medal, the media coverage you get, every journalist is looking to have to talk to you. Your center of attention on TV and that there, so it's a big shock to the system. And it just, for me, my family's very grounded. My network of friends is very grounded. So I couldn't like pretend that it was someone who I'm not. So thankfully, my friend, my family kept my feet firm on the ground. But it's very easy, I think, because you're getting so much attention to go off the rails, and I think that's something what Kenny Egan done. But in the case of Kenny Egan, he was a lot older than me. a good-looking fella. Girls are throwing themselves at him. So for him, I think it kind of spiraled out of control, where he wanted to drink and out partying all the time. Whereas myself, you know, it could have happened, but only and not as good looking as him. But I had a network, as I say, of friends and family who, you know, kept my feet firm on the ground. And I was aware that I was quite young. And I was aware that, you know, that 4 years' time will fly in an Olympic cycle. So I was all in the back of my head, I was gearing up for London. You know, I thought, you know, I got a bronze medal in Beijing. I'm going to go for gold here in London. So I tried to say to myself, dedicate as much as I could to the sport to try and better my bronze in London.
How difficult is a 4-year cycle, Paddy?
It's very, very tough. You know, even if you want to go medal in the Olympics, you know, 4 years in sport is a massive amount of time. You've got younger ones coming through. So to be on top for a 4-year period, so it's very, very difficult. And
Paddy, imagine the 4-year cycle. And I often think about this when I think about boxers. Imagine a 4-year cycle and having a down day on the fight. You know what I mean? A down day as in health or a cold or flu or, I mean, is there an anxiety around that beforehand, or what way does that work?
People talk about this all the time. So obviously there's a 4-year cycle, and the third year is usually the Olympic qualifying year. And you know, so you're training those 3 years to get ready for the fourth year to qualify. So you can do everything right, and then on fight day you could be sick. But that's just life. You know, that's just things you need to deal with. Like, it can happen to anyone. It can happen to the world champion, the Olympic champion, in the final. But it's just the way you deal with being thrown in the situation to get there. Because if I'm a firm believer, if something's rolled out for you in life, it'll happen. So if you get to the final of the Olympic qualifier and you need to win this fight to qualify, you've done everything right for the previous 3 years. Come with short. That's life. It's just the way it is. But again, it's just a way you bounce back from that, from those kind of things.
Megan, can I take you in just on the World Cup thing? Obviously, on the Olympic Games. The Olympic Games is now delayed for a year. How has that gone down, or how has that messed up plans, or how exactly do you feel about it?
I mean, obviously, in terms of planning and logistics and stuff, it was kind of a nightmare, because everyone's life for the last few years has been focused, like pinpoint, on these dates in July and August. So people have, you know, planned how they're going to do things before. Some people are still working, so they got time off to go full time for a bit before, and then people had planned things for after, because, you know, just as you were asking Paddy there, after the Olympics is known to be difficult for people. So, you know, we've been encouraged always to have something in place so the transition isn't as abrupt. So, yeah, in terms of plans and stuff, I mean, everyone's plans went out the window, but I suppose it did help that the whole world's plans went out the window. So, for me personally, I kind of took it as a bit of a blessing in disguise in one way, because my time on the pitch hasn't been as much as I would have wanted, just managing a knee injury the last 3 years now. And I was finally got into like a nice smooth bit of where having no problems at all, you know, feeling strong, just needing to like get my fitness up. But I know for myself, I just didn't want it to be a similar situation to the World Cup, where, you know, I was there, I was able to run around and stuff, but I wasn't performing close to my best. So after all the shock and the disappointment of everything, I guess for me, I just really refocused on like, class, this is an extra year for me now to get back to where I was at my peak, which is, you know, probably close to that picture there. That was a tournament in Valencia a few years ago, but I just have taken it like this is a blessing, and I'm going to be able to now get back to where I was before.
Yeah, you're both very philosophical about it. I presume that's not the case, you know, at the time when like, can I take you back to 2018, the World Cup? You've played the whole way through the World Cup and you missed the final. How devastating was that at the time?
Oh, at the time, it was horrific. It was horrific.
Don't worry, Megan. I'll talk about happier times as we go along, but I just need to nail down this stuff.
Yeah, should put everyone in a bad mood now. Sure. Oh, it was terrible, and like there was really the period between the semi-final and the final were back to back, and yeah, that time in between, like my knee was starting to go. I tore my hamstring, but you know, I didn't care. I was still all about, you know, just whacking in the painkillers, strapping it up, see what happens. So there was a really serious conversation that happened that morning. And I think had it just been the hamstring, it might have worked out and I might have just been able to tape up and hope for the best. But the fact that, you know, I just had an operation on my knee 5 weeks before. So in hindsight, it was a blessing I was even there. But at the time, you know, I didn't see it like that at all. And I suppose probably the worst and the best part of it was the morning of the World Cup final. The rest of the leadership group, you know, after they'd heard that I was going to be ruled out because of my knee and hamstring, you know, they came to my room and we all just looked at each other and burst into tears because I think they'd just known how much I'd been through to get there. And they had just said that, you know, we don't care if we're a player down. We want you on the bench with us and just to be there even if you can't play. So that was really powerful for me, like even though I wasn't there, you know, it still meant that much to them that that's what they were going to put forward to the staff. So yeah, it was horrible, and you know, to be watching, you know, the scoreline wasn't great, and yeah, it was a difficult watch all round. But I suppose just after, you know, we were in the tunnel ready to walk out and get our medals, and that was really surreal because I don't think, you know, it was against the Dutch, and I don't think they've ever played against a team that they've beaten 6-0 who were celebrating just as much as they were in the tunnel going out to get medals. So yeah, the whole thing was a bit surreal, and it all happened in such a short space of time. But yeah, definitely at the time it was a pretty horrible one.
Is it fair to say that you've had your own fair share of injuries? You've done your cruise, I'm not sure what year, but I think you were out for 22 months, something like that at that stage. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, more or less. I've lost track at this stage, but yeah, I suppose
No, the question I wanted to ask was, like, I didn't suffer injuries until probably later on in my career. And I always remember lads who were doing rehab on the side of the pitch while the rest of us trained and different things like that. And I never passed any remarks. I never said a word to them. I didn't encourage them. They were injured, and as far as I was concerned, it was the boys who were there in the pitch who were going to be playing on Sunday. I suppose later on, as I started to pick up injuries, I'm thinking, is nobody going to come over and say, you know, keep it going, or, you know, what's the reason to keep it going? And just was that period in your life, was that a lonely place, or were you getting huge amounts of support at that time?
I'd say a bit of both, to be honest. I definitely had the support, and I suppose at the time, had I known the extent of what was like to come, like if I had have known how much time I was going to be out, if I had known like the trauma of 3 surgeries that was going to happen, like just had I known like what actually was to come, I think I probably would have felt more isolated, because because of that time that I knew I was going to be away from the sport. But I suppose whenever I was in it, I always thought the physios, the S&C always thought that there was just going to be just turn this corner and then that'll be the start of the improvement. And the corner never turned itself, to be honest. And it was just, one thing after another. So I was quite supported because we were always thinking, oh, it'll just be like, the next few weeks, then this will happen. And then I'll be back on the pitch. Then the next few weeks I'll be running and then this. But none of that stuff ever happened. So probably the time that was most difficult was sort of the summer after my second surgery. Was the same summer that the World Cup qualification was and the Europeans were. So I was in Belfast. I'd never lived in Belfast before, but I was just there to focus purely on rehab in Sinai. And I was in there, honestly, 4 to 5 hours a day, every day of the week. And that support, like, if I hadn't had that, I don't know what would have happened, because, the girls were my best friends, and I was living with Shirley, one of the girls in the team, and like they were away the whole summer, South Africa and Amsterdam, pretty much the whole 2.5 months. So I think in terms of that time, I had support from staff, but it's, as you say, the players around you, and when you're used to playing a team sport and you're around people all the time, that was definitely one of those times where you felt a bit isolated.
Any thoughts of giving it up at that stage, or any thoughts in your mind, or how were you mentally at that time?
At that time, no, not at all. It was probably comes down to the same thing, that I didn't know what was coming. Like, we just kept going and just expecting that it'll eventually come right over the next while. And I was planning on going back to my club in Germany, and I had all these plans and stuff. So I had no intention of retiring or hanging the stick up. But I think the one time that I've had a really serious thought about that was this September past, just before the Olympic qualifier in November, and the knee was playing up again, and it was looking like I wasn't going to be able to be involved, literally because of my knee again. And that was definitely the worst time, and I really did consider packing it in, because it was the reason why I'm 29 and I'm only now having a proper job, because I wanted to go to the Olympics, and I'd put everything on hold to do this. And now September, 2 months before the qualifier, and I'm pulling up injured again. Like, that was pretty miserable. And then whenever it was actually came to light that I was going to be ruled out, Sean Dancer, our coach, asked me to stay involved with the team. I come to training, and he gave me some tasks. He had me doing coaching and some tactical video stuff. And like, on the outside, I had to be, upbeat, supportive, pushing everyone, being motivating, doing these jobs that was asked of me. And the inside, like, I did not want to be there. Like, it was all like a facade. I just couldn't wait to get home at the weekends, or get home after the weekends that we were down there. And even during the qualifier, even after we qualified, I didn't feel anything. Like, I just felt flat almost, and wanted to just get away so I could go away and focus on my own training and getting me back. Like, I didn't even go out to celebrate with the girls that night. Like, I was in bed. I was up and at the gym in the hotel at 8 o'clock in the morning, pretty much passing the girls coming in from coffers on the night out. But it was a really, really weird time. And I suppose then after the qualification, we were able to get some breathing space away from that intense, heavy training and everything. And that then definitely, having that space. And at that time, I did have to speak to a psychologist, because it was such a mad time, and it was a massive help. So all in all, yeah, I'm glad I definitely didn't pack it in. I'm glad I did work through it. And it's just allowed me now probably just to be even stronger in terms of whatever else happens now, you know.
Brilliant, Megan. Very, very insightful. But thanks for that. Because I know some of that stuff is definitely not easy to talk about. Paddy, can we talk about your decision to go pro?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I've never ever had dreams of going professional. No, it was never something on my radar. Being an Olympic champion for me was be all and end all. But I remember in 2015, I had a talk with MGM at the time, and they said, "Listen, Paddy, if you want to go professional with us, we will fast track you to a world title shot." And I thought, you know what? I've created history as an amateur. If they were able to fast track me as a professional, the world title, then I would also create history as a professional. So I said, you know what? Let's do it. I'll throw myself in the deep end, and I'm not afraid of failing, I'm not afraid of losing. As long as I give it my all and lose the best, then what more can you ask? And that's what I did.
And was it much different to being an amateur when you went into the professional ranks,
Um,
training wise and stuff?
Not so much training wise, but training was tweaked a bit. So obviously, as a pro, when you're fighting for titles, it's there's more rounds. I try to keep the same intensity because my fighting style is very, very aggressive. But professional boxing and amateur boxing are two totally different sports. You could almost say it's like flat racing and jumps racing. It's that different. Their gloves are a lot smaller. You know, amateur gloves are seriously padded, whereas professional gloves, it's like wearing a plaster purse. It's ridiculous. So when I turned professional, I think I turned at the wrong time because my age, it was a lot older. I've been an amateur in this amateur system, the amateur stay for so long. But as I said, you know what? MGM at the time, they call them, they're INDK, gave me a chance to create Irish history. So for me, it was no brainer. But when you're asking the differences, the gloves definitely, because you actually need to change your style to have a different defense. Because you couldn't stand where I would normally, hands up, take a few punches to get my punches off. You know, that's suicide. So you need to like have a different style totally. And I learned a lot in the pro game. I learned that I had biscuit ribs, but with everything I hit the ribs, I was down. So, but again, it's just live experiences, different sport, different experience.
Any regrets?
No regrets whatsoever. People say to me all the time, you know, Paddy, you were hugely successful as an amateur. I think you were managed badly in the pros, but I more or less managed myself. I went in there and I was given like a free rein to try and create history. So I was given, you know, I created my own path. So I wanted to jump in deep end and fight the best straight away because I didn't want to hang about and fight journeyman to make a name of myself because in Ireland I already had a name, so I didn't need to fight journeyman to do that. So my mentality was jump in there, fight the best. And if I lose, so what? At least I tried. I didn't want to go in there and fight bin man for nothing. No, I thought that was stupid. And so go in there, make or break every fight.
Can we move on to retirement? Actually, let's talk about the losses. How badly did the losses, the professional losses, how badly did they hit you? See what I did there? I hit you. No, it doesn't matter.
No, well, you know what? I think for me losing a professional fight, obviously me losing in anything, because I'm a very, very competitive person. No, it really hurts. But I think, if you look at professionals nowadays, you get people who are like 20-0, and if they were to lose, they'd be devastated. But for me, I was relatively fresh out of the amateurs. We were fighting every other week, and you're always losing. You know what I mean? You're winning fights here and there and losing here and there. So for me, losing wasn't as bad because it was sort of my career. Um, and you know, my first loss was to a world champion. So when I lost, and all my losses, were to the best in the world. Well, I first lost to the world champion, and I lost to someone who was about a stone heavier than me. And then the last loss was there to the European college champion. So I didn't lose to anybody who wasn't great, but I didn't care because it would have been different. I think it would have felt like more of a failure if I lost to someone who was a no one. But again, I think my mindset would be different professionally than someone else's mindset, because if they're 20-0, they're looking to be world champion. As was myself, but I turned professional with the view to fighting the best straight away, like heart in my sleeve. If I lost, I lost. I didn't care because I was thrown in the deep end. No one else has ever done this in boxing. And it turned out that at the time, it wasn't to be, and I wasn't good enough because I fast tracked myself at such an old age.
Can we go on ahead then, Paddy, just about the retirement end of things, when you eventually decided you were going to hang the gloves up?
Yeah.
Had you an idea in your head what transition looked like or what retirement looked like for Paddy Barnes? Was there a plan in place? Is it something you thought about, or did you suddenly, like a lot of sports people, it's one of the biggest issues in sport at the minute is that gays play sport, gays or girls play sport all their lives.
Yeah.
They stop and they come home one evening, they look around, they go, "What am I going to do now?"
Yeah, you know what? I know what you're saying. It's very, very scary. So if you're at the top of your game, for me, it was top of my game for 15 years, and to be highly successful, right? You got loads of these people in sport. I've been to 3 Olympic Games, and I've like competed against different sports from Ireland and GB, because I'm very friendly with a lot of athletes there, and like the sailor, if different range of sports, they get degrees, but they're all very, very intelligent people. But what I found is, it needs to be one or the other. So if you want to have a degree, you have a good education. But if you want a medal, you have to dedicate your life solely to the sport. So it's either a brilliant education or a brilliant and successful Olympic career. You can't mix both. Well, what I found, because if you look at the Irish team, what's an Olympic medal is highly educated? None. Well, you could probably argue like the girl who's a sailor. I think she's educated, but it's extremely rare to be highly educated, and have a successful Olympic career. So for me, I was always just scared during my Olympic career that if I don't win this medal, like my funds cut, and like where do I go? But I was lucky enough. I was in college in Belfast Met, and I done a lot of long term education, or long distance education. And a fellow he's actually in this webinar tonight, Paddy Bell. He helped me greatly. So I was in all these countries, and we were doing like assignments and learning online. So for me, when I retired, I had an education in place. This is a period of 9 years, like trying to get a third level education. It was very, very hard. So I think the moral of what I'm trying to say is, yes, I've got 2 Olympic medals. I've been to 3 Olympic Games, but I'm always telling young athletes and people nowadays who are aiming for the Olympic Games, yes, the Olympics are great. Getting medals are fantastic, but you must and please get an education because, as I say, if you get injured or you fail at the last hurdle, where are you going to go from here? You must ensure that you have an education because if you do have an education behind you, it makes training and competing a lot easier because the amount of worries and stress that you have in your mind or competing and training, they're all away.
Is coaching the ultimate plan for Paddy Barnes, or is that not something you're interested in?
You know what? It wasn't something that I was interested in, but I've been trying to help John Conlon with the Ulster team, and I feel it'd be a waste. I've learned so much throughout all my years of boxing at the highest level, and I've picked up loads of different tips. I've built up relationships with a load of like international teams and coaches, and I feel it'd be a shame if I didn't give what I've learned back to the younger generation of the Irish team. But that's only recently when John Collins brought me under his wing and threw me in the other team and trying to help the younger generation come through. So only recently, I've been trying my best to help coach younger fighters.
What's the most challenging thing about going in and talking to young lads?
To be honest, for me, there's nothing challenging about whatsoever because I'm a very outgoing person and I don't get embarrassed about anything. I'm not behind a door. So if I wanted to get my point across to someone, I just go in and say, listen, lads, we're doing this here. I'll show you how to do it. And for me, as a coach, one of my great things is I'm a great reader of people. So if I think I can sense if people want to learn or people who don't want to learn. I'm a great reader of that there. So I'll know, I think I can spot someone who's going to do well. I can spot someone who will soak up information very, very well. So when I go into coach, I just say what I want to say, do what I want to do, and that's just it.
Brilliant, thanks, Paddy. Megan, just when we're on coaches, who's the best coach you've ever had, and what attributes did they have in order to make them the best coach in your mind? I hope I'm not putting you on the spot.
No. I've worked with some great coaches, but I think, our current coach now, Sean Dancer's definitely someone I think is a great coach, but I haven't worked with him that long. So probably Darren Smith, a New Zealand coach from the Irish team that I would have spent a lot of my Irish career with. I was captain of the team whenever he was coaching, and I think we had a very good relationship in terms of not in terms of being pals or being friends, that sort of relationship, a really professional. We both wanted the same thing. We nearly always agreed the best way to get there, and if I didn't agree, I could say it and it was taken on board. So it was actually nearly having less of a friend and a coach was better. Not having a pally relationship definitely suited me because everything was so logical, so planned out, that it really kind of agreed with me and definitely fitted in my thinking. So I think we were really on the same page a lot of the time.
Okay, thanks, Megan. Graham Foreman. is you've got 3 questions there, Graham. Will you pick one of them? You can unmute yourself and you can ask the guys or whoever you want to ask the question there. Okay, Graham's gone shy on us, but okay, I'll ask one of them. Okay, Megan, hey, I work with Tess Howard, who should have been at the Olympics right now. How much work did you guys do on emotional intelligence to help you through being homesick, and how did you get over those lows? Any tips for Tess right now? Are you still there, Megan?
Hello?
Still there, yeah? Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Was I talking away there?
Well, nobody could hear you, so don't worry about it.
All right, brilliant. God knows what I was saying. So did I come on at all? No. I just started. No, grand, right. I think just that at the minute through the lockdown has been a bit of a learning curve for everyone, and probably everyone's experiencing these kind of lows of just being stuck in your house or whatever, or managing illness or whatever. But I think for me, something I've really taken from the lockdown is just that it's almost removed all the external factors from your life and just showed me that sometimes you just wake up not in the best of form, and there doesn't always have to be a reason for it, and you don't always have to rationalize it, and it's okay to not be in great form, but then it is on you to go and take the steps to make yourself in better form, whatever that is. Going for a walk, going to work out, going to read. So managing lows, that's something I'll definitely take in going forward. But the other main thing is probably setting goals and having something to work towards. Then building in your discipline to reach those goals and really stick to that.
Okay, thanks, Graham. Thanks, Megan. Paddy, just on the coaching one, who's the best coach, and what were the attributes that because you've had quite a few coaches down through the years, one way or the other. So, who's the best coach, and what was the attributes that they had in order to get the best out of Paddy Barnes?
Yeah, I've had a lot of great coaches. You probably had to start off like my coach, Holy Family, Jai Story. You know, extremely brilliant coach. He gave me a club level, even though he's an international coach, but he gave me a club level. He helped me successfully qualify for Beijing in London. A great father figure to everyone in the club. The kind of skill he learned me was unbelievable. And then obviously, near the end of my career as an amateur, I had the likes of John Conlon, who learned me a lot. I think, you know, we traveled the world together. He was a kind of father figure to me, and I remember coming back to the corner, and I used to think that I knew everything, but John slapped me and said, "Listen, Paddy, you're doing this wrong," or whatever. And I think that what a successful team, because I was able to trust him. So I knew he had my best interests at heart, so the trust was always there. So if he thought that I was doing something right or wrong, he would tell me, and no matter what, I would always believe him. So I think for a coaching aspect, I think coaches, you know, they need to gain the trust of their athletes. You know, if an athlete trusts a coach, then, you know, it's going to be an amazing partnership, and you're definitely going to get the best out of your athletes. And that's what happened with me, myself and John.
Right, Paddy, what's the longest camp you've been on? 3 months?
You know, as an amateur, I'm from Belfast, but we would be in Dublin Tuesday to Friday every single week, like throughout the year. So we're away from home all the time. But as a professional, I'd be away for like 6 weeks at a time, home one weekend, 6 weeks away again. It's a very, very long period away from home. And I think, for young athletes coming through, and if athletes want to make a name for themselves, or athletes want to like dedicate themselves to sport, they need to be aware of these kind of sacrifices. So they're going to need to sacrifice time away from family, time away from friends, time away from their partners. Look, these sacrifices need to be made if you want to be the best, because these training camps are long periods of time, and without them, you won't be successful. And that's a reality of the sport. That's just the way it is.
Paddy, why is boxing as successful as it is in Ireland?
I think in Ireland, we have that fighting spirit. And I think it's easy to say out there. I know people say the fight now is not whatever, but as well, I think we have a great network of fantastic coaches. We're all highly skilled, and we've got coaches in Ireland who always want to learn. Our coaches are being sent abroad to learn different skills. We're always coaches in Ireland, what I find, are like a sponge. They're always learning new stuff, always learning new techniques, and they're bringing it back to clubs and international level. And all the athletes are like, it's brilliant for them because they're being taught by coaches who are successfully driven, and it's only a good thing. So I think to answer your question, we're so successful because I think the coaches and the coaching level in Ireland is the bar is very, very high, and they're and plus as well, the coaches are instilling self-belief in this, and they're making the athletes believe that we're going to win, and it's funneling through from top level to lower level. And if I can win an Olympic medal, why can't Jimmy in the street win an Olympic medal? So if we're all on the same sheet. So I think because of the coaches and because of their techniques and methods, that's basically why the country's doing as well as it is.
Brilliant, Paddy. Thanks. Megan, the success of the hockey team, what will that have done for women's sport in this country?
I think it's pretty immeasurable, like what's happened since the World Cup. I mean, we were brought from, when we got back from the World Cup, from the airport on a bus escorted by police, and there was people on the street waving flags and stuff. It was completely surreal, and I think that it hasn't, obviously the event itself is over, but the sort of legacy of that is still there. Just after that, there was hockey clubs that had waiting lists to get their kids in, which was unreal to see. And we're still going to keep, I think, for hockey especially, keep that legacy going, and with the Olympics qualification, and hopefully going to the Olympics and setting high targets that can keep women's sport in the name, especially a women's team sport, which we don't, in terms of the Olympics anyway, have other competitors in. So yeah, I think that, I mean, it's all to play for, and it's all to really develop the sport. And I mean, the more funding we can get for hockey, the more we can keep improving, the better we can do, and the more exposure we get, and that's going to filter down through other sports as well.
And since the World Cup and the infamous penalty shootout, has that changed things a lot for you girls as a group?
For the World Cup?
Yeah, well, just in general, and you know, heading for the Olympics, as things change, are you more? Do you feel as if you're more in the psyche or the conscious of people more than you ever have been before?
Yeah, I think that's the case. I think we really experienced after the World Cup. We kind of joke that Ireland has a bit of a bandwagon. Like whenever people are doing well, we all want to get on board and celebrate it. And so we were having cocktails named after us in bars and stuff, and completely surreal, but definitely I think brings us more to the forefront of people's thoughts, and people have actually, you know, heard of the women's hockey team. And whenever we're nominated, you know, for RT Moment of the Year, whatever, that has a way of keeping things in people's minds.
Yeah, and the World Cup and the aftermath and the celebrate, all that's. It looked as if you, as a group, you're having fun.
Yeah.
Now, either you are very good actors, or that was actually the case. But how easy is it for somebody to flourish in that environment, as opposed to some of the stuff we've talked about earlier, where it's that pressure cooker situation?
I think because the core of the team have been together such a long time, like we are genuinely really good friends, and like we genuinely care about each other, and we all genuinely get on. And I think, you know, that's what you're talking about. We look like we're having fun because most of the time we are having fun. You know, if I'm not at training with the girls, I'm probably meeting the same girls for coffee, or, you know, seeing them in other ways. So it's absolutely all real, to the point where, you know, we do anything for each other on and off the pitch. So whenever you're that comfortable and you have that support and honesty around the team, we can be completely honest with each other. If someone's doing something we don't expect from them, I think we're all comfortable, you know, just saying it. And most people hold their hands up. We're comfortable enough to, when people are doing well, we make sure they know that they're doing well, and we support them in that. So when you've got that environment where everyone is definitely on the same page, you know, you're getting support either way, I think that definitely helped manage the pressure. And we're always very honest about how we feel in those situations. Like if people are bricking it, you know, they'll say it. And we have some little things that we always do together, like in the changing room before a game, there's a certain song that comes on, and it's like a bit of a conga line, have a dance, everyone knows the moves, and then some people will just sit on the earphones and roll their eyes at us. And, you know, everyone's just so open to having their own place on the team, and their whatever they bring to the team, it's valued. And whenever you have that comfort, I think we were experiencing everything together almost in the same way. So to have all the pressure on you, it was divided by 18. No one was feeling the pressure, you know.
Please tell me what the song was.
I don't even know. I could sing it for you, but I won't.
Yeah, sing it.
Oh,
We haven't had anybody
guys,
sing yet.
I can't sing it. I only remember the dance, which I'm definitely not doing. I actually can't remember it. I can't even remember the tune. Bad. We haven't played a match in that long.
I'll give you time to Google or whatever you need to do in the meantime. But for both of you, I'll start with you, Megan. The sports person you most admire and why? Now we're nearly there. We've got about 10 minutes. If anybody else wants to put up any more questions, you've got, this is your last chance. But Megan, can I ask you, sports person you most admire and why? It can be simple.
I had a feeling you were going to ask me this, and I am actually really bad at following other sports, but I suppose the obvious one is, you know, probably Serena Williams, Paul Radcliffe were always so successful whenever I was coming through. And I mean, you wanna be as successful as those guys.
Perfect, simple. Paddy, same question. Who's the sports person you most admire and why? And you can't say me.
I was going to say you, Oisín.
No, you can't.
Well, what? I'll go to my second.
Think of another one.
I'll go to my second most favourite, and I'll say it would be Tony McCoy. The reason for this because horse racing is like boxing in a sense where they make weight, and he's been hugely successful for a lot of years. And I just like his personality. No, he's dead grounded, dead down to earth, and being who he is as a hugely successful person. I just admire him, and he's my favorite sports person.
Put 3 boxers together and give me the perfect boxer. Doesn't matter what weight division or anything else. Just
yeah, 3 boxers have to be Lomachenko, Gilmore, Rigondo, and third one would be me. I'm the best.
I was hoping you were going to say you. Paddy, have you worked with sports psychologists, or have you worked on the mental side of things in the past, or when you boxed? And how much of a help was that to you?
You know what? Being part of the Irish team, Sport Ireland, we had they would give us a service provider, Jai Hussey, so he would work with us in the college sort of way. And being young, and I think even still now, youngsters like to laugh about it. They think it's a sign of weakness not there, but you know, people who employ sports psychologists, they're very, very smart because you know, you can be the best in your sport, but sports psychologists can give you that 1%. And see, sometimes in sport, and most in sports, 1% is all that's needed to be. 1% can separate a silver from a gold medal. And you know, if you listen to some sports psychologists, a lot of different ones have different phrases and different methods. And if you take stuff from each one of them, you know, I've always had, and actually, Sport and I had a psychologist, and I would love to know the name of the guy. I don't know who he is, an old fella.
Des Jennings.
No, he won't be that old. But what stuck with me was, and it's something I live by as well. Well, what's why I live by my career. People wanting to win Olympic medals, people wanting to be successful. This guy says wanting is not good enough. So for me, we'll go back to where I says if I don't win this medal and I'm off funding, so where to go from here? So for me, I didn't want to win an Olympic medal. I didn't want to be the best in the world. I needed to be the best. So wanting something and needing something is totally different. If you want a glass of water, you'll go and get it. But if you need a glass of water, you'll definitely get it. So I remember that psychologist in question, he changed my mindset. And every time I trained, I didn't train because I wanted to be the best or I wanted to be fit. I trained because I needed to be the best, and I trained because I needed to be fit. So sports psychology for myself was a massive part of my career.
Brilliant, Paddy. Thanks very much. Megan, we just have one more question after this, but can I ask you that same question? I'm not sure if you heard it, but I'll ask you again. I know you said you've done some sort of work with sports psychologists, but is that what's helped you deal with the setbacks or the failures, and how important have they been in the whole process?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely having someone from the outside looking in talk to you is such a good way of, you know, getting outside of your own head and actually maybe realizing that things aren't as bad as they seem, or you know, you're so focused in this one little moment or in this one match or in this 1 week of matches or whatever it is, and the actually act of like discussing it or planning it or going over it with another party is very, very helpful. I think for me myself, in terms of like being resilient, has kind of been forced upon me in terms of my injuries. But at the end of the day, it's always been the goal of going to the Olympics that has got me there. So the ability to keep going has been the overall goal of going to the Olympics. But to be honest, it's discipline that's kept me going day in, day out. Like, there's many days that I could have been like, I can't be arsed for this today. Sure, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. But it's those individual days in and out where nothing immediate is about to happen is the probably times where you need to do it the most. And I mean, if I hadn't have spent that really hard summer doing all the difficult things that I didn't want to do, I wouldn't have played in the World Cup. And that was, you know, a summer before the actual World Cup, because I'd laid all the groundwork. So when I had that third surgery, I was able to step onto the pitch and play an international game 3 weeks later because of the discipline that I'd shown in times gone by, in the previous months, the previous weeks, even the previous years. So I think you can talk about mental toughness and you can talk about resilience and everything, but for me, a big part of it is discipline.
Yeah, Megan, we were going to finish up. Just one more question in here, and I just wanted to know if you'd answer for me. It's from the floor. Megan, is there a gender gap in sport with women participating less? Why do you think that is, and what can we do about it? An easy one for you, just to get just to finish up.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, you know, talk in the media about that and stuff, and I think you can definitely see a gender pay gap, but it's great to see more sports starting to level that off, and you do hear about it in the media. Something that has actually been noticed in hockey. So typically the woman is the one who's, you know, having kids, staying home to mind the kids or that sort of thing, and that's probably where, especially in recreational sport, you see it. But there's actually been, you know, a movement in Ulster hockey where there's a decline in men doing it. And one of the suggestions is that women are wanting to get back out and play sport. They are wanting to join a team and commit to it, and they see the benefits. And I suppose the more pushing that we can do of women in sport, the more that's going to help bridge that gap. So in terms of being an international athlete, I think it is good for us to represent Ireland and get women in sport an exposure. Then more women may see that and want to go on and see the benefit, even, you know, see the crack that you have in a team, and that is going to push. But I mean, definitely there needs to be the support there from the governing bodies. And, you know, even whenever I was in America, Title IX was a big thing. If you don't know what that is the push that in colleges it will be equal between the funding given to men's and women's sport. So everything like that is definitely a step in the right direction. And I think, yeah, it's a role for us as international athletes to push that so it can filter down and hopefully start to bridge that gap.
Brilliant, Megan, you handled that well. Thank you. Paddy, just going to finish off before I let everyone go, but I just want to ask you just give us one takeaway, Paddy, from tonight as far as just resilience and well-being is concerned from your point of view.
Yeah, well, from my point of view, you know, we're going about the likes of the most important message I would like to get to coaches is, you know, I've been part of a setup which has been highly successful for many years. Key to that success was definitely having fun with training, having fun with competing. So there needs to be essentially a fun element to it all. And as well as that, there, at a different point, I would like to say, like, if you have kids training, whatever, coaching kids, try and enforce education on them, because at the end of their careers, at the end of the career, where you're normally your most successful, when you're peaking, if you have an education behind you, you know, you'll probably be even more successful, because you have no stress or worries about life after sport. So education is key, and having fun is also key. Them two main points. If you're a coach, please take it on board.
Brilliant, Paddy. Thanks so much. To Paddy and Megan, folks, I think everybody will agree that tonight was phenomenal. It just absolutely flew by. So thanks for your contribution, your messages, and all the little nuggets of information we got along the way. I'm going to finish off. Marie-Therese is gonna see us out. In 2 weeks' time, we have Tommy Bowe and Ciara McGeehan. So stay tuned for that one. And just over to Marie-Therese for to finish off. And thanks everybody for tonight. Brilliant.
Yeah. Cheers. Thank you. Thanks, Oisín. Thanks for hosting. Yeah, another really fascinating, insightful session tonight, guys. Thank you, Paddy and Megan, for coming on tonight and sharing with us that, you know, real honest account of what it was like for you guys dealing with setbacks through injury, losses, transition, all of that, and really emphasising the support of having that really strong supporting environment around you that encompasses both your physical and your mental well-being.